What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another collaboration beer. This time between the Heavy Reel Brewing Company, and they are out of Seaside Heights, New Jersey, and Branch and Blade Brewing, and they are out of Keene, New Hampshire, and this is their Thyyk, the electric red sangria variant. So they're calling this one a heavily fruited sour ale with pineapple, orange, cherry, apple, and grape. It comes in at 6% alcohol by volume, no IBUs listed, and time of review. And this can is approximately 2.5 months old. So we just got a small drop of Heavy Reel stuff here in the Buffalo, New York area in early February. And I picked this one up about a month later, and I think they had like 3 or 4 different beers, but this one sounded the most interesting to me. They were all, I think, heavily fruited sours. There might have been an IPA, but pretty sure they were all heavily fruited sours. But I don't think I've ever had a heavily fruited sour that's trying to go for sangria. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, you don't see a lot of heavily fruited sours with apple and grape in them specifically. So I thought that was cool. Now, I've never had anything specifically from Branch and Blade either, and I've only had, I think, 1 or 2 other beers from them that were collaborations, but I know they make really good heavily fruited sours. So this is the first beer from Heavy Reel, and hopefully it's delicious. I'm hoping it tastes like sangria in beer form, or maybe like a fruit punch or something, but I'm really curious to see how they do with this one. And of course, with all the heavily fruited sours, every time you open them, they're usually, filled to the brim and they go everywhere. So not a surprise, happens more often than not. So anyway, we're going to do a pour here and see. Yeah, so that's pouring out like, I don't know, like thick cherry Kool-Aid. I don't know. It looks crazy. So I'm going to pour it all in. Yeah, so that looked crazy. I kept this one upside down in my fridge until it was time to review. Most of the time they say, hey, do the roll and stuff beforehand. I just keep them upside down, and then as soon as I go to review them, turn them right side up. Everything's usually pretty good. So yeah, it has that, packed in fruit puree ring around the glass. This one looks like a deep, dark cherry limeade. It has that purple magenta kind of look to it. Hold it up to the light, can't see anything through it. Murky, turbid. Had about a half finger of a pinkish colored head that is now dissipated to about a quarter of a head, and yeah, let's get a nose. It smells straight up like sangria, or, I mean, sangria is basically like what, like a wine punch, you would call it. This smells kind of like Hawaiian punch to some degree. It has like a fruit punch vibe. Huge apple, huge grape. The last 2 ingredients along with cherry. Pineapple and orange getting lost a little bit. It's basically in order: apple, grape, and cherry. It's a little bit like, smells like it's gonna be tart, maybe not overly sour, but tart. It doesn't smell like overly sweet though, even though like the aforementioned Hawaiian punch, if you've ever had that, or even the soda pop one they have that's carbonated, those are obviously sweet, a lot of sugar in them. This, I'm sure, has a lot of sugar from the fruit puree, but it doesn't smell crazy sweet. It kind of smells like a fruit punch you would have at like a party, or again, like Hawaiian punch, something in that realm, but in a fruited sour form. I don't really smell beer properties to this one. Just smells like a fruit cocktail of some sort. But does it smell bad? No, it smells absolutely delicious. I love Hawaiian punch, so let's see how this one is. Cheers, everyone. That's delicious. That's cool, because again, with these heavily fruited sours, a lot of them don't use apple puree or grape puree. You see them sometimes, but not often. The fact that I'm getting the cherry apple and the grape is awesome. This is unique for the style in terms of the actual fruits I'm tasting. First sip, definitely lean sweet. Body in this one, lower side of full, medium full. It has that thick puree, kind of syrupy, smoothie-like kind of feel to it. But it's not over the top. It's like not too much. It's kind of right in the realm of what I want for the style. Usually want like lower side of full body into medium full, like somewhere in that range, and that's where this is. The mouthfeel, it has a mild to moderate carbonation, but it does have a really nice, smooth, creamy kind of feel to it. So body's proper, so the mouthfeel. Taste. What's there to say? Forefront, I'm hit in order: grape, cherry, apple. And that's what hits me at the front of the tongue. Passes through. I think the pineapple and the orange is adding a little bit of like a acidic citrus kind of feel to it. I'm not really getting the pineapples. The first fruit listed, I'm really not getting it. It's getting lost in the sea of grape and cherry, what I'm pretty much getting. as it passes through about halfway to 3/4 way through the palate, there's this firm tartness that kicks in. It's definitely noticeable, and it's not over the top. This is mildly acidic, so again, it doesn't feel like I'm gonna get heartburn or any kind of acid reflux or anything after drinking this can. After those first like 4 sips or so, it's firmly tart with a mild acidic nature to it. This one finishes semi-dry, but it has a pretty big residual sweetness. So this leans like 60-40 in terms of sweetness, maybe even like 65-35. It's a little bit sweeter. Am I gonna be able to finish this glass? Yes. Because typically with these, when they're too sweet, and that's usually the problem I have with these heavily fruited sour ales or smoothie sour ales, 4, 5, 6 ounces in, I'm just like, cut me off. It's too sweet, it's too cloying, it's too over the top. This doesn't have that issue. I think that firm tartness with that little semi-dry kind of finish and the acidity is kind of balancing it out to some degree, but not fully. If you pick this one up and you want straight on sangria, you're getting it to some degree. This is not full on sangria. It's not full on Hawaiian punch or fruit punch or anything like that. But if you like cherry, grape, and apple, and if you like that combination, and specifically the cherry and the grape, I think this would be what you would want, and this is pretty delicious. So my first heavy real beer, and I'm happy with it. As far as like these heavily fruited sour goes, this is one of the better ones I've had recently. Yeah, they've done a pretty good job with this. Again, when I say it tastes like red sangria or sangria in general, not exactly, but it's in that realm, and I appreciate that. 6%, you can't taste it. So Thyyk, the electric red sangria variant, I have no issues whatsoever giving this one right here. I'm gonna give this a high 4.5. I'm gonna go we'll go 4.55. Why? Because I don't know. The ratings don't matter, as I always say. Yeah, it says it on here, so I didn't see it. Please store cold, which I did. Gently roll can before opening for optimal drinking experience, or pour the entire can and keep it upside down in your fridge, which I usually do, and it works out well. So again, I really like the label too. They do have more, obviously, in the Thyyk series. This is the electric red sangria variant. Price point availability, this is where, you know, these are all very similar, especially if they get distro out of state. That was $7.99 a can. I'm sure at Heavy Reel at their brewery, this is probably like, you know, $25 a 4-pack, $22 a 4-pack. When you start making distro, these start going up in terms of prices. You know, Mortalis here in the West New York area, their stuff's usually $22 to $25 a 4-pack depending on the beer. And then you'll see them like in Chicago and they're like $10 a can. Of course, that just goes through distro. Everybody has to make money in distribution at the bottle shop or the beer store. So I get it. This is usually like $8 is where I max out for a single can to try something. I wouldn't rebuy this at $8 a can, but it was fun to try. Now, if I live by the brewery, and these were, you know, a $25 4-pack or like $6 a can or something, yeah, I'd pick this one up occasionally, especially if I'm in the mood for something different from heavily fruited sour, some flavors that I don't typically see in a lot of heavily fruited sours. This would be one I would grab. Availability, I have no idea with Heavy Reel. I just know we saw a drop of their stuff here in Buffalo about 6 weeks ago, give or take. And yeah, I think this is pretty good. If you've had this one before, or anything else within the Thyyk series or anything from Heavy Reel before, let me know what you thought about it. And I would say I would like to try some Branch and Blade stuff at some point because, again, I've had a couple beers from them, collaborations, but I've never had anything specifically from the brewery, and I know they're kind of known for these heavily fruited sours, so it'd be fun to try at some point. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.